It Happened on the Job, the podcast for relatable conversations with contractors. Sponsored by Goodman Insurance.
Welcome to It Happened on the Job. We are your podcast for relevant and relatable conversations with contractors. My name's Mike. That's Brian.
Hello.
Hopefully bringing a little entertainment to you as well. I let that one go there for you a second.
Wait, what?
Yeah, I messed up our intro a little bit. We're good.
No edits, right?
Yeah,
just one take, man.
There you go. Sweet.
It's all going to be in there. Episode 55 today. We got Adam Beamish, President and CEO of Beamish Waterproofing. How you doing, Adam?
I'm great.
What's up, Adam?
Yeah, happy to be here. Good.
Thanks for coming in.
Here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thanks for
I
coming
feel
in.
like we say that now every time somebody comes in.
Yeah,
It's
we're
like,
very grateful that people are actually willing to come in and meet with us next. We spent a long time on Zoom meetings for a few months.
Right.
Yeah, when nobody wanted to get out and do
Yeah.
anything. So it's
Yeah.
nice to have human interaction
Yeah.
again.
Right? Makes
So-
it easy to say yes.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So give us a little history, kind of how you got started in the industry and the road to where you are now as president and CEO.
Sure. Yeah, my father started the business out of the home garage in the year I was born. And it's one of those things where he was just struggling to kind of make a living for himself and provide for his family and run a small business out of his garage kind of thing.
Was he in the trades at all before he started the company?
Oh, yeah, he was in the
Okay.
trades.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, his story's interesting. He actually wrote a little book about his
There you
life
go.
story. And
What's the name of the book? Let's get a plug
It's
on
called
the book.
Not My Business.
Not My Business.
Yeah, by Mark Beamish. It's actually super entertaining. I really enjoy it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So his origin is that he was, kind of like a school dropout, and his father passed away at a young age, and he kind of was drifting from one job to the other, and he found his prior boss wasn't paying his bills, wasn't making payroll, so he's like, I just got to break out and do this on my own.
Very cool.
So then I was coming along.
Yeah.
I'm the first child, the firstborn. So he's like, I better get.
heir.
He wasn't like, I gotta get to work. As my mom was like,
Yeah,
you gotta
better
get
figure
to work. So he started the business out of the home garage, and they say the rest is history. It really grew organically, just him and a couple buddies, caulking tilt-ups. That was like our first, we were waterproofing, but just caulking tilt-ups. Tilt-up buildings, that expansion joint
Yep.
between the panels. It's all for days, for miles.
Just
So yeah.
endless, mindless work, right? Just shoving it in there.
Oh yeah, climbing ladders
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
yeah.
So were you heir apparent from day one? I mean,
No.
were you?
No.
Okay.
No.
Did you ever have any?
I didn't even know what he did.
I can't imagine in high school you were
Yeah, he
thinking
came home
like.
and he didn't want to talk about
Right,
it. Huh?
Yeah.
right.
He's
I didn't even know what he
Get
did.
here,
I mean,
Yeah.
were you 8 years old and everyone else wants to be in an restaurant and you're like,
No.
no, I want to be a waterproof caulker.
No,
like,
good point on that. So you guys were asking about the scar on my head here. So I was 8 years old and I had a skiing accident. We were on a family vacation to Utah, in Bryan Head, Utah. And it's one of those things like you ever like ride a bike on the beach and you're like checking out a girl walking
yeah.
a sidewalk and you're like, so I was like spraying snow on my little brother and looking that way and a tree just jumped out of nowhere and
yeah,
smacked me between the
people
eyes.
do that, man.
So I like fractured my skull, major injury where they had to life flight me and then they took me to one hospital. They couldn't handle me there. And then they took me in a jet to another hospital. Crazy, like near death experience, which I don't
insane.
remember because I was too young at the
Yeah,
time.
Yeah.
probably better that way too.
Right.
Yeah.
So from that, I was kind of like a book kid for a whole bunch of years. And that kind of set me on a little bit of a path
Was
towards...
it because mom was too afraid to have you outside?
Mom
So-
and dad, everybody was too scared to have me
Bubble
outside.
boy, kind of here.
Absolute bubble boy. So I was like a book kid from kind of that point on, and I studied hard and went hard to college. And a lot of my dad's contemporary sons were in the business and in the trade and working the trade, and I never really did that, So
Yeah.
I had no concept for what he did or how he did it. And at the time, like 80s construction is like rough, especially tilt-up construction. So I never did the whole ladder climbing thing. I worked in the office.
Yeah.
Pushing
You had
around
the
buckets in the
AC job,
warehouse
yeah,
as a
yeah.
kid, like the easy stuff. So I never was really exposed to the trade stuff growing up. So it kind of like, I don't know, forced me to look at the businesses
I was
from
going
a
to say
different
you were forced to see
perspective.
it from the business side rather
Right.
than the
It's
trade
actually a
side.
good thing,
Yeah.
too, right?
Yeah, it turned out, it grew from, out of the garage to bigger and bigger. The more I just was learning school and going studying the books. So how I got involved, I was doing real estate out of college, and I actually one day I came home after work, and I said, "Hey, Dad, I got to talk. I just can't find anybody who I want to be like. There's nobody like I want to whose life I want to emulate. I can't find a mentor. There's nobody
Did
I really
you watch
like.
his face drop as?
No, my dad's chill. He's like a surfer guy. So he like clicks the button on his little TV that goes into the furniture.
Yeah,
and I'm like, Dad, to have like a serious conversation. I'm like, Dad, what do you do again? Like, what do you do? So it was a couple years out of college until I kind of found out what he even did. I wasn't even really aware of what he was doing as a profession. But
that's crazy.
Yeah, and so I was, he's like, well, why don't you come check it out, work with me for a little bit, work part-time, work hourly, keep your real estate license, right? Keep your real estate license and let me know what you think. Well, I never turned back from that, from working with him just a little bit part-time. I fell in love with it right away. It was one of those things like he had me doing collections when I started, which is not the funnest job, right?
Start up there.
Well played, Dad. Well played. But he had me doing collections when we started.
The worst part of the job, too.
Everything seems great after that.
Right? So, but the guys would circle back after the day and then share with me their stories or what they did. And you could just, like, the passion. Do you know what I mean? Like, the passion about the workmanship, about the type of jobs they're doing.
The pride, too, right? Like, you hear that a lot from the guys that we interview, girls that we interview, too, is like those guys that are good at what they do are passionate about what they do and have that pride of like, I did this, I built this.
And you're talking about the TiltUp Caulking.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a tiny little sliver of a joint between two concrete panels. It is overlooked. It's painted over.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you don't even
literally
see
covered
it.
up. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a complete afterthought, but it's a craftsmanship and it's
it's necessary
art. To the guys who do it and do it every day, it's like absolute artistry.
That's awesome.
And they can tell who did it.
Right.
And they're competitive with each other about whose edges are cleaner and about who tools it better. And, that kind of thing, it's appealing, especially when you come from other industries where it's like, I studied PR in college. And like a lot of things you're doing is like not tactile.
Right.
Versus construction. Like I did that.
Yeah.
You drive up and down the freeway and I did that one and we did that one.
Yeah.
And, that's really rewarding.
Yeah, very.
So I fell in love with it right away from even just doing that, keeping my license. And I ended up letting that go after a little bit because I just really loved it from there on.
So what was your road like from collections to CEO?
Well,
that's
right. I did collections for a little bit, and I did kind of like a informal cycle. Basically, whenever somebody quit or they needed to hire somebody, I'd be like, I'll try that.
Yeah.
So the first couple years, did a little bit of everything. Worked in the field even a little bit, and I worked in the field like the coldest, worst time of the year. Like I look back, I'm like, why did my knuckles?
It's not that bad, right?
Oh, but I married somebody from my wife is from Minnesota, and I go back and I say, that's real cold. Yeah,
she's wearing tank tops
and it was freezing.
Right. I mean,
where's my parka?
Right? Yeah. So I had no concept of what cold was like, but so I did a little bit of everything, and I did estimating. It was kind of like the sales job, and I was doing okay at that. We had done a little bit of work in San Diego at the time. We were doing about like $500,000 a year, and we thought we like owned San Diego. We thought we were like killing it in San Diego. And my wife and I had just been married for about a year, and we're like, let's go do something new, a new adventure. Let's move to a new town. So we opened up the San Diego office. And then within 1 year, we grew the business by like 6-7 times.
Wow!
And San Diego is something I didn't really appreciate. Like it's its own community.
It's a chill town,
well, and not only that, we see it. So we write insurance, right? But we've seen it where I have clients from all the way down from San Diego all the way up to Redding, right? But in California, but breaking into that San Diego market, it's something different. Yeah, like there's definitely something they almost want to know that you
care.
Yeah, well, and that you're plugged in down there in some way, shape, or form. I still know a guy in LA, and he's like, "What kind of price you got? What kind of coverage can you get me? Perfect, you're the best. I'll take it." The guy in San Diego says, "Yeah, you might be the best, but this guy, I know he does this and that."
Right.
And he goes here, so it's just like a different.
Just
really
to speak
to that point,
it's an island.
Little community. Yeah.
I mean, it's separated on all sides, right?
Yep.
With Pendleton in between, the whole thing. So we moved down. We got really involved in the community. We found a church that we fell in love with, and the guy that moved with me to run operations in San Diego, he's the real one that made it happen for us. Like as an estimator, sometimes you win a job because you're stupid, right? You win a job because you miss.
Whoops.
Right? Yeah. And so he had my back. His name's Rob, and he would pull the job in. He'd pull it in under budget. He'd make the client. He'd turn the customer into a client, and he would earn their trust. And we really got some good momentum going. So it was like really my first time like ever being someone's boss or hiring people or firing people and all that. And so we built a nice little team down there. And about that time, my dad was looking to retire, he had hired a consultant to identify an outside CEO to kind of take over. And when the guy was doing his evaluation or assessment, everyone's like, hey, why don't you give Adam a chance? I was 26 years old. But this was 2008, where things were still kind of like easy.
Yeah.
And they asked me if I would consider taking the job. I thought, well, I can just drive from San Diego, or headquarters in Anaheim. No big deal, right? I better say yes. So I took the job, and I was driving from San Diego. I was living in uptown San Diego, driving like an hour, 45 minutes each way into the office. And then 2009 hit, and it was hard. And it was just like trial by fire. So but I got asked to run the company at 26 years old.
And survive through a recession.
And we had about 100 employees at the time, and we kept everybody we intended to. It was tough, but I'm grateful for it because at that time I'm driving like a Honda Civic, and my house was like under 1,000 square feet. I had like such low overhead. So I was able, us like cutting costs and just kind of like white knuckling it was. I didn't have bad habits built up yet, so it was easier to trim lifestyle when like I was already kind of living.
You didn't have to go from a 3,500 square foot house down to that 900 square foot apartment. So and I think I'm grateful that we're able to adjust quickly and make it through at 2009. It was like trial by fire of run a business. Sure. So
how long was that trial by fire? A couple years?
Maybe it was about
still going on.
We posted a profit every quarter, but our revenue got cut in half that year. Half. For sure. So and during these times,
I was gonna say this is almost round 2 for you, right?
Yeah,
like you've got the playbook almost.
There's a little bit of like insecurity going into this, like what's gonna happen, but a little bit of confidence. Like we've been through things. We've been able to adjust and adapt and find ways.
And probably a little bit easier this time around too, just the way technology's come around, right? I mean, in 2008 and 2009, you couldn't do Zoom proposal meetings with
right?
with your clients and all that kind of stuff. And none of that stuff existed. So probably having been through it, obviously you're probably a lot more prepared this time around. Question about when you became CEO, how you said you had other brothers in the company too. Are they
just the younger brother?
Just one. Okay.
Yeah.
Did he get a shot?
He does his own thing. Okay. My brother was a kid when that Fast and Furious came out. Like he was like drawing designs for cars, like aftermarket products and all that. And now he works for Meguiar's, and he's like a product specialist, and he like innovates new products that are like the top selling thing for Meguiar's.
That's cool.
So he's like living his dream, and he's doing great.
Is he local or is he back east?
No, he's in Costa Mesa.
Okay.
Yeah, he's local. So he's happy. He's doing his own thing, and
very cool.
We each have our own thing, which is healthy. It's a good thing.
So you were at 100 employees, back when you kind of took over. Where are you guys at now? Are you still?
We're about 150 now.
Wow, really?
Yeah, but revenue's like way more than it was.
Oh, for sure.
And we're able to get a lot more done. And during that time, a couple years prior, we had purchased that floor sealing company, and they had these grinding machines in the warehouse that we didn't know what they did. And somebody's asked, so what does that thing do? And this one guy raised his hand, Ramon. He's like, I know what that does. I got trained to do it. It polishes the concrete. We're like, well, who needs that? And we started kind of selling into this polished concrete market. And being waterproofers and caulkers, I was real dependent on new construction. And as that went into decline, this flooring business, the polished concrete, sustained us during that time. It was total unintended. It was like a gift.
So you guys just doing like polishing, epoxy? And all that kind of
exactly.
Stuff?
That totally sustained us during that time, which, I joke with my dad, like, hey, that was a good call. He's like, who would have known,
knew, right? So what else have you guys kind of gotten into other than the caulking and the polishing?
We've kept it with that.
Just those two?
In the return of the new construction, the waterproofing has taken off for us.
Yeah.
So, and we've rounded out that service offering. At the time, we were only doing cold applied waterproofing, and now we do the whole, every kind of waterproofing system, and worked really hard at becoming specialists at all the higher end systems.
Right.
So, we're a go-to on most of the higher end waterproofing systems in the business. So
very cool.
Yeah.
So what was the learning? I mean, obviously there was a learning curve, but what were some of the challenges you went through going from sales estimating to the CEO, like that process? Anything that kind of sticks out, like, man, this one really kind of.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about like crazy stories and things that happen. I mean, just managing people is just being a really successful salesperson is one thing,
Right.
and you think it's totally transferable, and it is not at all.
Well, especially when it comes to people.
Right? I mean,
people
that was something I really took for granted. I'm like, hey, I did decent job scheduling work and did decent job selling and estimating. I was actually garbage at estimating. The sales part we did okay. But managing people was just such a paradigm shift. I had no idea what I was in for.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, my as
especially
part
that
of
many people too.
Oh
right?
yeah. As part of like a condition with my dad, like, hey, if you can do this, but I want you to invest in Vistage. So I don't know if you guys have heard of Vistage. No. It's like a CEO peer group thing.
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so he was like, make sure you do that. I think that, and he had never done it.
Right.
He's like, I think you should do that.
Like, what are you saying?
I mean, shoot, I had like a public relations degree and sales experience. I was not prepared for running a business like that. But the peer group, the Vistage group, has been
kind of leaning on them for advice and support.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of in 2009 when it was difficult, making a tough decision quick and seeing that through.
Yeah,
the Vistage guys.
Not being afraid to fail too, like. Right. You're going to make some wrong decisions.
Right.
Well, you can lean on them, right?
Yeah. And a lot of guys with more experience. And he's like, hey, what should I do? You should do that. I'm like, okay, I'm doing that tomorrow. Yeah. I mean, just trust that guy knows better than I do, So that was a big help for me just to...
How about from the employee standpoint, seeing you go from, son of the owner and estimator to CEO? Was there...
Oh, man.
Was that an issue for you? Or
it wasn't an issue, but an absolute... challenge.
Oh, for sure.
Right? To go from relationship with Uncle Rob or Uncle Mickey to like now trying to tell them what they do. Yeah. But the guys have all been so gracious. And, we've been able to, we were like a family. We've been able to stick together through all the good times and the bad times and the good times again. And, just everyone's willingness to kind of trust, and to give me the benefit of the doubt. I credit a lot to my dad for seeding that. Yeah. And give tons of credit to them for just, putting their trust in me. I mean, I'm just grateful. Really, and he hired really good people to be his partners, his friends, and so I think,
so
they were great to start with.
They were rooting for you. They weren't. It wasn't like, oh, geez, here he comes.
Yeah,
like,
and I also think not being like the physical tradesman person.
Right.
I think I never start with thinking I know how they should do their job.
Right.
Because you don't.
I know I don't.
No, yeah.
Like
That's smart.
I can't even pretend.
Yeah.
So I always kind of default to like, you know better than I do.
Right.
That's just the
it's just the humility part of it too, right? I mean, being humble in those situations obviously goes a long way.
Yeah.
I asked you that because I was in restaurant management for a long time before I started here. And I mean, I grew up in restaurants from 16 years old. So when I turned 21, 22 and became a manager, and you go through all the management training, the company I worked for, who's a huge national chain, but they specifically make sure that you don't go back to the same restaurant where you worked as a server. Because there's a different aspect when you're going with 18 to 22-year-old servers, and I've got to go from their best friend who I just worked with them 2 months prior, and now I'm your boss. Like 18-year-olds, it doesn't go too well. Yeah,
I wish I'd had that chance. I can't fathom some of these guys. I still work with tons of these guys that they saw me that early, the high school work ethic that they saw. I mean, that they respect me and they trust me. They saw me at my worst, and they're still bought in and working with me and give me that benefit of the doubt. I'm just,
awesome.
Like I said, I can't even fathom the trust that they put in. So I'm
awesome.
really grateful.
Cool.
Yeah.
So speak to hiring a little bit. I mean, obviously you guys know what you're doing. You got enough people, and are you seeing an issue with quality labor, or how does the hiring process work for you guys?
Yeah, it's been challenging. We've always put a priority on internal referrals, right? And at some point, you just exhaust those networks,
Yeah.
And so where all the little families that you've kind of cultivated and their networks that you've cultivated eventually kind of caps out. So that's been a challenge that I don't feel like we've really unlocked the code to yet. And we're just continuing to try different things, trying to unlock new networks.
Are you, ideally, if you had it your way, would you hire somebody that fit your culture and train them to do the job that you do,
without a doubt.
Or looking for the experience?
Yeah, without a doubt, we'd rather have someone that just has a good attitude.
Yeah.
Is that like a gut fit thing? Like you sit down with them and try to feel them out, or is it?
Yeah.
Or do you have actually processes that I guess, what do they call them? Like the personality test or those kind of things that you guys. Do you guys do any of that?
No, we don't do any of that. I mean, we've
face-to-face interviews.
We've toyed with some of those assessment tools, and really, what we found the most success with is the guys doing the work, doing the interviews. They can kind of root out somebody who's not telling the truth or kind of BSing their experience. So that's helped us a lot. When we used to have just the HR gal who only speaks English, doing that was never really successful for us, right? Yeah. Hey, this guy has a ton of experience. The first day, I'm like, they have no experience. But frankly, my dad really set a tone early. He hired guys that he recognized hustle as busboys at a restaurant he would frequent, or friends who were working at a hotel with mutual friends, and just people that demonstrate hustle. Like, it's gonna work out.
Right. Yeah.
It's craftsmanship, and there's artisanship embedded in the work, but just like anything, if you put the time into it and you care, like, you'll figure it out.
So on that, what does the training process look like for you guys? You bring somebody in who you love from a work ethic standpoint, but is maybe worked with their hands a little bit, but not really a lot of experience what you do. How do you guys?
Right. Well, we always pair them. We do like a pretty good onboarding where we do like office training and videos and all that. But like they're itching to touch things, And so we put them. We typically pair them with the more senior guys, and we're talking about guys that have been there as long as I've been alive. And they'll kind of show them, and they can tell right away. I was like, this guy's gonna stick or he's not. And then they kind of run up the flagpole like, I really like this guy. And then they shift them on to a different crew, and then the senior guy brings on somebody else that needs to be trained. But as it's gotten, and this year's been crazy, our revenue is up tremendously over the prior years. I don't even know how and why, but we're just growing like crazy right now. And it's tough to bring new people in right now. So as it's like the scalability of that has been a challenge. Again, like I don't think we've unlocked the secret to that yet.
It's changing so rapidly.
Yeah.
I think you think every time you think it's like, nope,
right.
And here we go.
Right. And this COVID thing's been crazy where it's like people come on and then they don't show up the next day, or we don't see them for a couple weeks. It's like, it's just been difficult kind of getting traction through this and adding up manpower. It's been a challenge.
So on that piece of it, what was personnel morale like, and how did you guys kind of manage, especially through March and April? Funny.
So every week we do like the toolbox talk, the safety training, right? And every week it had always been like a groan and I don't want to be there and it makes me late to the job site kind of thing. And as soon as the stand at home order, and then we started dispersing people straight to the job sites, and it was almost within like 2 weeks, people were like, I missed that safety meeting. They're like, are you serious? I mean, I've been arm wrestling you for 10 straight years for the safety meeting, and now you wish you had it. So we did like a smaller group, like toolbox talks outside to try to keep everybody together. And then we did a couple of those. We're like, oh yeah, I forgot. I still hate these. So then we've been doing that, just disseminating over email the toolbox talks and making sure we collect everyone's like feedback on that. And I've been hitting the job sites a lot more heavily through this, just to make sure I'm seeing the guys.
You've got so much new business in those last few months. I mean, I got to imagine you got to...
Right.
I mean, everything's changing all the time.
Yeah.
You got to get...
So I'm getting out there. The VP of sales is getting out there. HR is getting out there. All our superintendents are hitting the job sites hard. Just kind of like pull everybody back together and keep everybody connected. But I've been surprised that weekly cadence of the toolbox talk is like the biggest thing they miss culturally. When we've been hating it for 10 years, nobody wanted to do it. I think
it's probably more about the camaraderie between the employees and being able to see them kind of shoot the shit for 10 minutes.
Oh, yeah. At least.
Yeah, they got to hear somebody from up top talk to them and tell them something they probably think they already know, but at least they're hanging out with a guy.
They miss being connected with
you mentioned teammates. You're like a family, right?
Oh, yeah.
And all of a sudden you have been dispersed and, spread out, and you can't actually have that connection.
Yeah.
So
it's been a challenge.
And the whole idea of lockdown and quarantine is so foreign, I think, to everybody in any industry, just as a human, right?
Yeah, I was going to say.
And so,
basic human
so when you
nature,
say, you're not allowed to talk to anybody, it's like, oh my gosh, you take for granted all the silly things, like you talked about church, right? All of a sudden you can't go to church, you can't go to work, you can't go out to eat, you can't get a burger. I mean,
And you're sick of your kids.
And now you want to go to a safety meeting.
I'm not the only one, right?
Daddy, help me with my mouth.
Right.
Nope. I gotta go to a safety meeting.
Yeah, and it's funny. There's like 1 out of 5 people love this, and they're like just happy to be left alone in their.
Yeah.
You know, some of my office staff are like, you can let me know when this is over. I'm gonna stay at home. Like,
are you seeing? Are they being efficient and productive?
oh,
yeah.
yeah.
You guys,
oh yeah.
You guys are...
By literally every metric, we've done better through this.
Really?
So when people started kind of loosening the restrictions, what was it? 3 weeks ago?
Yeah, early June.
We decided not to, and I'm glad now that everything kind of got pulled back.
All went back, yeah.
But it was almost like, this seems to be working. Let's kind of stick with it. I think.
Do you see yourself sticking with it in the future beyond this?
No, I don't. No. But
you're going to bring everybody back at some point.
We've been able to find some ways to communicate better than it. And being a 30-something-year-old business, it's forced us to be a little more digital, a little more accountable.
You almost over-communicate. We've talked to a lot of people who said like they almost become better communicators to this because
they have to be
because they feel like they have to over-communicate because they're not seeing.
Oh yeah, I'm so much more in the loop now.
Yeah. And in that, so like whereas before, like you might have just assumed that person knew what you were talking about because they sat on the desk next to you, but now you're like each other from home, like, hey, I'm doing this today because of this. Oh, great. Well, I'm doing that. You know what I mean? You almost become over-communicators.
Yeah. It's funny. Some of those little things like interdepartmentally. It's like, oh, so-and-so's on vacation this week and it's Friday. You didn't even know. It's like, oh, man. Because sometimes the outside departments, we've had a challenge just connecting, operations with sales or whatever. Because that being in the office together had synergies that were missing.
Right.
But in each department, it's humming.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Or you think the uptick in business is just because of what you guys do and not being as much traffic around?
I think there's a part of that. In my current Vistage group, I was sharing with a lot of the other construction guys are doing fine, but not ahead of target like we are. And going into this is a big challenge to me when you ask, like, what do you do? What type of projects? The answer is pretty diverse. It's like, do you have a building? Then, I can help you out.
Right.
And that's like a marketing challenge for me in good times, but now it's a blessing where it's like, if something's happening, I can play. To have that diversity and that diversification has just been awesome. That I can still kind of be productive and be working.
Right.
So
yeah, I guess you're probably just one of those industries, like you said, you're diverse enough that you can. Whereas, I guess I can't pick one right now, but you pick a certain trade where something was shut down, you can't.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, if we were all like apartments, that might get tough, or if we were all retail, that might get tough.
Yeah.
But we any building type we're doing, so it's kept us going. Is that diversification?
Very cool. So what's your management structure look like? What is your, as far as a personnel standpoint, who else is in there kind of helping you make decisions
through this we created a little team, just like the senior leadership team, and that's includes my VP of operations, sales, HR, accounting and finance, and like administration. So we're talking every single day. Yeah. We had like a little Zoom call, and we're so good about turning on the video. Like a lot of companies are like, oh, you turn on the video? I'm like, oh yeah, we always turn on that video. Just to kind of keep us, I don't know,
engaged.
Yeah. To still feel like
it's funny.
there.
We were doing the same thing where we would have calls every day, and at first it was just the two guys that run the company would be on video, and maybe one or two others, and then slowly it was almost like a peer pressure thing. Like everybody found a way to get on video, so that by the last few weeks, everybody's there on video.
Nice.
See everybody's faces.
Yeah. That's pretty
it makes it a little harder to like take a meeting while you're in the pool, but
Well, did you see the one where the girl thought she may have turned her camera off or whatever and went into the bathroom?
Yeah.
Oh man,
she's carrying a laptop around and she thought she turned the camera off or something. Puts the computer down
that was like the first week of COVID too.
Puts the laptop down right outside the bathroom and then like full and drops her pants to sit
awful.
and you can see the guy on the. Like, no, trying to call her, like, no, Kelly. Yeah.
I can only imagine the HR, the lawsuits that are coming after all this. Yeah, the attorneys will be doing fine.
I'm sure.
The attorneys are going to do great.
And the divorce attorneys, too,
right?
So, you said you do have kids? Are you grooming them for the business?
I would say no, because I wasn't groomed for it and it turned out okay, right? But they're interested. I've got 3 little ones, 11. My boy is 11, and I got 2 girls, 9 and 6. And I think this pandemic thing has been cool for them to see that the work dad. You know, I mean, to see how I operate work and how I
doing it from home and stuff.
Yeah. And I think I like that. It kind of like decreases like duality, right? It's like I am who I am all the time, and there's no like
I'm not dad, and then this the work guy. I'm both,
right? And it's forced me to just kind of check myself to be like authentic and sincere at all times,
right?
Because I got like 3 little witnesses at all times, you know, and they find a way to like creep in on you.
Oh yeah,
like,
for sure.
Dude, they're smart too.
Like the most important meetings, like they.
That's not what you told the other guy, Dad, when you were on that meeting.
Right. They want to like somehow they find their way on the little camera. They're, you know, they're up in it. So I've really enjoyed that, and I think, you know, in terms of grooming them, I just want them to be really good, independent people. You know, independent thinkers and. To be strong on their own, and they're awesome kids. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, they're gonna do great no matter what they do.
Are you guys still living down in San Diego, or are you back up?
Oh, we're back up here.
Okay.
Yeah. I live in like North Tustin area.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah.
And is your dad involved in any way, shape, or form, sitting on the board to advise or any of that kind of stuff?
We meet once a month, and we go over the numbers, and you know, he kind of weighs in on things that he notices that we should be doing, and I respect his perspective and his opinion on things. I mean. He grew a really successful business that's healthy and has endured, you know, several different business cycles. So I recently he was kind of like, because our numbers, like I said, have been really good lately, and I could tell his interest kind of like,
hey, what are you doing there? Yeah,
like, you know, like,
maybe I want to do a little bit more.
Like, well, he's like, he kind of missed last month, and I'm like, hey, you want to make sure you're on the next call, because I value his perspective and his point of view, and I had to kind of remind him, like, this isn't just like for you to get the update on the numbers. I want him.
I need some direction.
I need his input. You know, I'm not going to be successful if I'm not kind of folding in his point of view. I mean, like you said, I'm young still. I got a ton to learn, and I need that wisdom.
You got a 12-year CEO. I guess seasoned now. You're pretty well seasoned. What are some of the daily objections, hurdles that you guys face that you got to kind of clear some of the big ones that?
I mean, I think the biggest,
other than probably still personnel,
over 12 years. I mean, it's always hard to kind of keep everybody going in the same direction. And just I studied public relations, and there was some statistic back when I was in college about like someone needs to hear something 28 times for them to remember it, right? I forget what the actual like stat was, right? But that is so true about your vision and your values and your mission statement, all that.
Yeah.
I mean, I have to really be disciplined to like just continue to like. Yeah. I feel like a broken record, but I'm committed to it and really pouring into the values and the mission statement, keeping everybody on the same page. And you know, everything going on in the world, it's like people aren't unified very often, you know, but I feel like at our place of work, we all got the same goals, major diversity of point of views, backgrounds, everything.
For sure, yeah.
But we're all kind of pointed the same direction, which is awesome. You know, it's rare. So I'm grateful for that. But I think that's the challenge.
Yeah. Is that a result of just being diligent with that message and sharing that message?
And I think that hiring, you know, we've had excellent people in HR kind of like shaping up like our team of just making sure, like, you know, they do the first kind of screening.
Screening.
You know, and like trying to find people that are gonna kind of come in line with us and round us out. You know,
right.
So I think, and it's not even our current person is great, but we've had a couple years worth of really good people bringing people on and onboarding thoughtfully instead of just the warm body approach.
Right.
I mean, we've just got a really good team that it's like curated. You know, a lot of times you know, construction, you think you're just throwing bodies at something, but that's not the case here. I mean, we're really, really intentional about who we bring on the team.
Very cool. So what's the future look like for you guys? What's the roadmap for the next 4 or 5 years?
You know, we want to just keep getting better. You know, a couple of years ago, being younger, I really thought growing the business on the top line was all that mattered.
Right.
You know, And it was about 2 or 3 years ago I realized we're starting to reach those revenue goals I had set out like in dreams years ago. I'm like, we're actually going to hit these numbers, but we weren't really bringing the bottom line there. And it also felt like the customer experience wasn't as high as it should have been. So we track that, we measure that. We want to make sure that we're not just big, but that we're good. So we want to keep on getting better in terms of, money in the bank, profitability, and happy clients. I mean, if we're hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue, but we lose kind of our soul, that's it doesn't get me up in the morning. It's not and that's not what everyone signed up for.
I would almost argue it's more fun and more rewarding to be more efficient with what you have than just because, I mean, if you really wanted to, you could go out and get $100 million worth of waterproofing work. You know what I mean? Like if you wanted to, but at the end of the day, all you're doing is making yourself busier. Right. But it's almost, like I said, it's almost more fun and more rewarding to find a way to take however many millions you have now and bring more money to the bottom line and go like, we're not any busier. Right. We're actually less busy now because we're more efficient in all these areas, and now we're making more money.
I think being young and inexperienced, that was something I chased after, is that top line that you can tell your friends about.
There's an aspect of pride there, right? Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so we're just trying to just keep getting better and better.
Yeah. Very cool. Any new verticals you guys are trying to go into, or?
Not necessarily. We're continuing to round out our service offering. We keep kind of getting pulled into different things, and we'll assess them. But I think that the diversity that we have now is pretty adequate. Yeah. We don't want to be jack of all trades, master of none. Right. I think we were at risk of that at some point. We just need to stop saying yes to everything and be a little more selective.
Be good at what you do.
And it goes back to what you just said, right? You're getting better. So better quality, better craftsmanship. And that means sometimes, hey, we need to just specialize here and not do everything, right? So,
There was about 2 years ago, there was one service offering that we were doing a ton of, and we were just losing every time we did it. We weren't making any money. We were winning the work, but we weren't making any money doing it, and nobody was happy with our service on that. And we stopped bidding it, or when we get asked to do it, we might bid a little fat to make it worth it. But we've gotten so much better just by saying no, by being more selective. It's made us a better company.
Healthy.
Yeah. And we've grown nonetheless by saying no. So.
I mean, naturally, you get better and you do better work. You're going to get more work.
Right.
I mean, especially like you said, in that San Diego area where it seems pretty tight knit. That reputation.
And we're also in Northern California.
Oh, are you?
And that's been growing for us. We've been.
Do you have an actual office up there?
Yeah,
too?
We've been boots on the ground maybe 6 years now.
Wow.
And that's been growing like crazy.
So San Diego, Anaheim, and then where in Northern California?
The office in Pittsburgh.
Okay.
Which is
Pittsburgh.
I don't know if you ever. But the Bay Area is crazy. So I was up there last week looking at job sites, and we got a great team up there, and so that's growing. I see that as being more growth for us there, but we just want to keep doing what we're doing and doing it well.
Yeah. Very cool, man.
Awesome.
Well, let the people know where to find you, how to get a hold of you before we let you go.
Sure. Yeah, it's just markbeamish.com. And we're on LinkedIn and whatever, the Instagram and
got them all, right?
Facebook.
Do you have a social media department that does that stuff for you?
I mean, just me and the account manager.
It's so funny talking to contractors. You get every spectrum, right? Like we've had a few people that are like, linked what, or like Insta what, like, and then the complete opposite. Like I would feel like you probably fall in the middle. The complete opposite. We've had a couple people that are like, no, I'm an Instagram social media influencer. I just happen to be an HVAC guy. There's complete different ends of the spectrum.
I've been having fun sharing photos of like job walks I do, and I think it's fun.
Stuff. It's good.
It's pretty cool. I like to like show the guys doing the work and get a little, they like that too, to see like, hey, look, I saw
show their friends, like, no, for sure.
So it's been fun.
I think it's definitely getting that way. There's obviously, like I said, two ends of the spectrum, but it's fun to see this industry kind of going towards that a little bit more.
Yeah, I'm not quite the Instagram worthy photographer. It's definitely, my iPhone, photos, but
lots of filters, right? Lots of filters.
Don't ask me about that either,
Awesome. Well, appreciate it, Adam. Thank you so much for stopping by and taking the time here. And we'll keep in touch, man.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, of course. Thank you, guys.
Have a good one.
All right.
Hey, thanks for listening. And if you've made it this far, go ahead and give us a like or 5 stars or whatever means you like us.
Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss our next episode. And check out our website for more video content and extras.
While you're there, shoot us a message if you want to be a guest. We'd love to have you on.
Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.